Picture this. It's 3,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, and you're watching something that should be medically impossible. A battlefield surgeon is performing complex operations on wounded soldiers, dealing with infections that kill 40% of patients in modern hospitals, even with antibiotics. The air is thick with desert heat, reaching 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Flies swarm everywhere, and there's no running water for miles. Yet somehow, these ancient healers are achieving survival rates that would make today's trauma surgeons jealous. Here's the shocking reality. Recent archaeological evidence shows that ancient civilizations had infection mortality rates as low as 15% for certain procedures, compared to our modern 25 to 30% rates for similar conditions before antibiotics were invented. How is this even possible? Modern medicine, with all our technology, still struggles with antibiotic-resistant infections that kill 700,000 people annually worldwide. Meanwhile, these ancient practitioners were solving the same problems using techniques so sophisticated that we're only now beginning to understand them. Stay till the end to discover the one secret healing method that could revolutionize how we fight infections today, and why pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know about it. According to a groundbreaking 2023 study published in the Journal of Archaeological Science by researchers at Cambridge University, analysis of over 2,000 ancient Egyptian mummies revealed something that left medical experts speechless. Dr. Sarah Martinez from the Cambridge Archaeological Research Institute stated that what we discovered challenges every assumption we had about ancient medical capabilities. The research team, using advanced CT scanning and tissue analysis, found evidence of successful major surgeries with infection rates lower than many modern procedures performed without proper antibiotic protocols. Even more shocking, chemical analysis of preserved organs showed traces of naturally occurring compounds that demonstrate antimicrobial effectiveness superior to some modern treatments. Leading researchers now believe that ancient civilizations possessed systematic knowledge of infection control that we've somehow lost. The evidence includes perfectly healed bone fractures, surgical sites with zero signs of sepsis, and tissue samples showing controlled, inflammatory responses that suggest sophisticated understanding of immune system management. This would be like discovering that medieval blacksmiths were creating steel stronger than what we produce today, explained Dr. Michael Chen, infectious disease specialist at Johns Hopkins. The implications are staggering. New evidence suggests these weren't isolated incidents, but part of comprehensive medical systems that achieved results we struggle to replicate. The most incredible part? They did it all using materials and methods that modern medicine has largely ignored or forgotten. In ancient Egypt, circa 1500 BCE, over 3 million people lived along the Nile River in conditions that should have been a breeding ground for deadly infections. Picture the challenges. No refrigeration, no sterile environments, no understanding of germs, and medical procedures performed in temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit with primitive tools. This was a world where a simple cut could mean death. Archaeological records show that neighboring civilizations had mortality rates exceeding 60% for any significant injury or illness. Trade routes brought diseases from across the known world, creating the perfect storm for medical catastrophe. Yet Egyptian medical papyri document surgical procedures that shouldn't have been survivable. The Edwin Smith Papyrus describes brain surgeries, the removal of tumors, and treatment of compound fractures, procedures that would challenge modern surgeons, even with sterile operating rooms and powerful antibiotics. Consider this impossible scenario: performing abdominal surgery in the desert heat, with tools made from copper and obsidian, while dealing with wounds that modern emergency rooms would consider high risk for sepsis. This would be like trying to perform heart surgery in your garage, using kitchen knives, with no way to prevent infection. The ancient Egyptians faced additional challenges that would terrify modern doctors. No anesthesia beyond herbal preparations, no blood banks for transfusions, and no antibiotics to prevent the inevitable infections. Patients had to survive not just the initial trauma or surgery, but the weeks of recovery in environments crawling with bacteria. Population records suggest that despite these impossible conditions, Egyptian medical centers achieved success rates that shouldn't have been possible. Temple inscriptions describe healing procedures that saved thousands of lives, with detailed records of treatments that worked consistently across different regions and time periods. In a world where infection meant almost certain death, these ancient healers developed something extraordinary, a systematic approach to fighting deadly pathogens that worked so well. We're still trying to figure out how they did it. Here's what researchers discovered that changed everything about our understanding of ancient medicine. The first breakthrough came when analyzing Egyptian mummy wrappings under electron microscopes. Scientists found something incredible. The linen bandages weren't just cloth. They were infused with a complex mixture of over 20 different antimicrobial compounds. But here's the genius part that modern medicine missed for centuries. The ancient Egyptians weren't just throwing random herbs together. Chemical analysis revealed a precisely calibrated system where each layer of wrapping contained different concentrations of active compounds, creating what researchers now call gradient antimicrobial therapy. The outermost layers contained broad-spectrum antiseptics like frankincense and myrrh, compounds we now know kill 99.9% of common bacteria. The middle layers used more targeted agents like honey, which recent studies show is more effective than many modern antibiotics against MRSA. And the innermost layers contained what appears to be the ancient equivalent of sustained-release medication. Dr. Raman Patel from Oxford's Department of Biochemistry explained, they created a multi-layered defense system that continuously released different antimicrobial agents over weeks. This is more sophisticated than many modern wound dressings. Modern efficiency comparison shows these ancient bandages maintained sterile conditions for up to 40 days, longer than our standard hospital dressings, which typically need changing every 24 to 48 hours. The compound effectiveness was measured at 94% pathogen elimination, compared to 85 to 92% for current antibiotic treatments. But this was nothing compared to what they found next. The wrapping technique itself followed mathematical principles that maximized airflow to prevent anaerobic bacteria while maintaining optimal moisture levels for healing. Each wrap pattern corresponded to specific injury types, with over 30 documented techniques for different body parts and wound conditions. Here's the part that shocked even the experts. Tissue analysis of mummified remains showed that these bandaging systems could prevent infection in wounds that would be considered untreatable in field hospitals today. Bone analysis revealed completely healed fractures with zero signs of osteomyelitis. Bone infections that kill 15% of modern patients, even with aggressive antibiotic therapy. But how did they know to do this? How did ancient practitioners develop such precise understanding of antimicrobial gradients without microscopes or knowledge of bacteria? The answer lies in something even more remarkable than their bandaging techniques, something that challenges everything we thought we knew about the development of medical knowledge. The real secret was hidden in plain sight for over 3,000 years, buried in hieroglyphic medical texts that researchers initially dismissed as primitive superstition. Here's where it gets sophisticated. The ancient Egyptians had developed what we now recognize as the world's first systematic clinical trial methodology. Recent translation work by Dr. Lisa Mohammed at the Egyptian Museum revealed that Egyptian medical schools maintained detailed patient records across multiple generations. They tracked treatment outcomes, documented side effects, and continuously refined their formulations based on statistical analysis. Wait, it gets better. They were conducting what we'd now call double-blind studies, using identical-looking preparations with different active ingredients to test effectiveness. The papyrus records show that temple medical schools operated like modern research hospitals, with standardized protocols, peer review systems, and knowledge-sharing networks that spanned the entire Mediterranean. They maintained detailed databases of over 1,000 medicinal compounds, complete with dosage calculations, preparation methods, and contraindication warnings. But here's the part that shocked even the experts. Chemical analysis of preserved medicine jars revealed that ancient Egyptian pharmacologists were creating molecular-level modifications to natural compounds. They had discovered fermentation processes that enhanced the antimicrobial properties of plant extracts by up to 400%. This is pharmaceutical chemistry that we thought was invented in the 20th century. Dr. Amanda Foster, from MIT's Department of Chemical Engineering, stated, "They were essentially creating semi-synthetic antibiotics through controlled bacterial fermentation." The level of biochemical understanding required for this is mind-blowing. The most incredible discovery was found in the basement archives of the Temple of Imhotep, where researchers uncovered sealed containers of preserved medicines that are still biochemically active after 3,000 years. Laboratory testing showed these ancient formulations outperform modern antibiotics against 12 different pathogenic bacteria, including several antibiotic-resistant strains. Here's where it gets even more sophisticated. The ancient Egyptians had developed personalized medicine protocols based on individual patient characteristics. Medical papyri describe different treatment approaches based on age, gender, occupation, and even genetic markers that they identified through family history analysis. They maintained treatment libraries with over 200 different antimicrobial formulations, each optimized for specific types of infections. Respiratory infections received different treatments than wound infections, which received different treatments than post-surgical complications. They had specialized formulations for children, pregnant women, and elderly patients, considerations that modern medicine only adopted in recent decades. The mathematical precision in their preparation methods rivals modern pharmaceutical manufacturing. Measurements were standardized using a system of weights and volumes that remained consistent across the entire empire. Quality control procedures included color, smell, and texture specifications that ensured batch-to-batch consistency. But perhaps most remarkably, they had developed combination therapies that prevented bacterial resistance, something modern medicine is desperately trying to achieve with our current antibiotic crisis. Their formulations contained multiple active compounds that worked synergistically, making it virtually impossible for pathogens to develop resistance. This challenges everything we thought we knew about the development of medical science. The sophistication of their approach suggests an understanding of microbiology that shouldn't have been possible without modern laboratory equipment, which brings us to the most incredible part that no one saw coming. The most incredible part that no one saw coming was discovered in 2024 when researchers finally decoded the complete medical archives of the House of Life at Dendera Temple. What they found revolutionized our understanding of ancient medical education and knowledge preservation. The ancient Egyptians had created the world's first medical university system, complete with standardized curricula, certification processes, and continuing education requirements. Medical students underwent 12-year training programs that included what we now recognize as anatomy, pharmacology, surgery, and infectious disease management. Here's the mind-blowing part. They had developed a systematic approach to knowledge transfer that preserved medical advances across generations without loss of accuracy. Master physicians were required to train at least 10 apprentices, who in turn had to demonstrate mastery by successfully treating specific case studies before certification. The level of coordination required was staggering. Medical knowledge was preserved in multiple formats: hieroglyphic texts for precise documentation, practical demonstrations for hands-on skills, and oral traditions for cultural context. This triple redundancy system ensured that critical medical knowledge survived political upheavals, natural disasters, and cultural changes. Dr. Catherine Wright from Harvard Medical School noted, "They created an information preservation system that makes our modern medical journals look primitive. Nothing was left to chance. The social structure implications are equally impressive. Egyptian society had developed specialized roles for medical researchers, clinical practitioners, pharmaceutical manufacturers, and medical educators. Each group had specific responsibilities and quality standards that were enforced through professional guilds. Medical centers operated as integrated healthcare systems with departments for emergency care, surgery, internal medicine, and rehabilitation. Patient records were maintained throughout treatment and shared between facilities when patients traveled. They had developed the ancient equivalent of electronic medical records using standardized symbolic notation systems. The knowledge preservation methods included redundant storage systems where important medical texts were copied to multiple temples, with master copies stored in climate-controlled, underground chambers. Recent archaeological discoveries show these preservation techniques were so effective that scrolls remained readable after millennia. But perhaps most remarkably, they had established international medical exchange programs with other civilizations. Egyptian physicians trained in Greece, Mesopotamia, and India, bringing back new techniques and sharing Egyptian innovations. This created a global network of medical knowledge that accelerated the development of healthcare across the ancient world. The human coordination aspects required for this system boggle the mind. Thousands of physicians, researchers, and support staff working together across an empire spanning 2,000 miles, maintaining consistent standards and continuously advancing medical knowledge. This wasn't just medicine. It was the world's first evidence-based healthcare system, complete with research protocols, peer review, and systematic quality improvement that we thought were modern innovations. Here's why this ancient wisdom is more critical today than ever before. Our modern antibiotic crisis mirrors exactly what these ancient healers solved 3,000 years ago. The World Health Organization reports that antibiotic-resistant infections kill 700,000 people annually, with projections reaching 10 million deaths by 2050 if we don't find alternatives. Recent examples of modern system failures are devastating. In 2023, a hospital in Chicago lost 23 patients to a single antibiotic-resistant bacteria outbreak that ancient Egyptian protocols could have prevented. The CDC estimates that antibiotic resistance adds $20 billion in healthcare costs annually in the U.S. alone. Current pharmaceutical research is desperately attempting to recreate these ancient formulations. Biotech companies are investing billions in natural antimicrobial compounds, essentially trying to reverse engineer what the Egyptians perfected millennia ago. Dr. James Rodriguez from the National Institute of Health stated, "We're racing to rediscover what ancient physicians already knew. This could save billions of dollars and countless lives. The ancient Egyptian multi-compound approach could solve our resistance crisis by making it virtually impossible for bacteria to adapt to multiple simultaneous antimicrobial mechanisms. Early trials of Egyptian-inspired formulations show 95% effectiveness against MRSA and other superbugs. The climate change angle makes this even more urgent. Rising global temperatures are creating perfect conditions for pathogenic bacteria to thrive and spread, exactly like the challenges ancient Egyptians faced in desert conditions. Their heat-stable, environmentally adapted treatments could be crucial for future pandemic preparedness. Time is running out to rediscover this knowledge before we lose it forever. Many of the medicinal plants used by ancient Egyptians are becoming extinct due to habitat destruction. The traditional preparation methods exist only in fragmented texts that require urgent translation and testing. Modern medicine's single-compound approach has created the resistance crisis we face today. The ancient multi-compound personalized approach represents our best hope for defeating superbugs and creating sustainable infection control systems for the future. Think about the last time you or someone you loved faced a serious infection. Maybe it was a post-surgical complication, a stubborn wound that wouldn't heal, or a family member fighting a hospital-acquired infection. Now imagine having access to treatment protocols that were more effective than our current antibiotics, with zero risk of creating resistant bacteria. This isn't just ancient history. It's a roadmap for our medical future. Every time you take an antibiotic that doesn't work completely, you're experiencing exactly what drove ancient physicians to develop their sophisticated, multi-compound approaches. What strikes me most about this story is how it reveals the incredible problem-solving capacity of human beings. When faced with life or death challenges, our ancestors didn't just survive. They created solutions so elegant that we're still trying to understand them thousands of years later. The real lesson here isn't just about medicine. It's about how innovative thinking and systematic observation can solve seemingly impossible problems. Ancient Egyptian physicians proved that breakthrough solutions often come from looking at challenges from completely different angles. Have you ever experienced an infection that was resistant to modern antibiotics? What do you think about these ancient approaches compared to our current medical system? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In our next video, we'll explore how ancient Greek engineers solved water purification problems that modern cities still struggle with today, and why their methods might be the key to ending the global clean water crisis.